The Van Saar gang cybernetic appears on the scene of Acropolis looking to deepen their pockets in the Prometheum trade. House Cawdor spies report that a tech lab has been set up, and they make plans to raid it. Today we've got episode 11 of Ashes of Acropolis. Today we have the channel debut of House Van Saar, and they've rolled up for a match with the Brethren of Judgment from House Cawdor. As this is our first game ever with Van Saar, you can expect some mistakes, maybe some mismatched equipment, but you can certainly help us in the comments below. Cybernetic is led by Von Marks, a prime with plasma pistol and energy shield. He has mesh armor, armor body glove, and the skill fast shot. Oculus is an Archaeotech with Rad Beamer with Ocular Cybernetica Alpha. He has the skill Munitioner. Helix is an Augmech with Plasma Gun and Fast Shot. Scion is a tech specialist with Lasgun and Flak. Fusion and Cypher are both techs with Lasguns and Flak. With 40 credits left, they depart with 6 active fighters worth 960 credits. House Cawdor is led by Priest Gabriel with a Chain Axe and Exterminator. He has unshakable conviction. Ezekiel, a deacon, follows him with an Eviscerator and the skill Restless Faith. Jedediah is a Firebrand with heavy crossbow. Lazarus is a specialist with Grenade Launcher. Zachariah is a Brethren with Blunderbuss. Isaiah is a Redemptionist Brethren with Autogun and Exterminator. Tobiah and Simon are Bone Pickers. They have 1 fighter in recovery. They bank their 65 credits and depart with 8 active fighters and a gang rating of 945. Today's scenario is Tech Raid, another fitting random roll, and I love when that happens. House Cawdor will be our attackers. The battlefield is our standard 3x3. House Cawdor will have a custom 7, and they will get the entire crew due to Devout Masses. House Van Saar is random D3 plus 2 plus reinforcements. They roll up for 4 fighters and get the tech specialist Scion, the Prime, Von Marks, Augmech Helix, and Tech Cypher. Tactics cards are custom to Van Saar selects Warforge, giving them +1 to their ammo checks for the game. They also take Power Up, which allows them to double the strength of a last weapon for an activation. House Cawdor selects Rise Anew, allowing them to avoid a serious injury. They also select Let It Burn, giving ranged weapons the blaze trait for a round. The battlefield will have 6 loot caskets on it, placed by the defender. They have to be at least 6 inches away from a battlefield edge and other loot caskets. For deployment, House Van Saar will deploy within 3 inches of a loot casket. House Cawdor will deploy within 6 inches of a battlefield edge. The battle ends when only 1 gang remains. Victory will go to House Cawdor if they can find 3 pieces of equipment in the stashes by rolling a 3+, a 4-up if they decide to smash it. Otherwise, the defender will be the victor. If either gang decides to flee the battlefield, they will take a loss. We really hope you enjoy the game. It was a ton of fun to make, and this one will come down to the end. Turn 1 is coming up next. Priority rolls are coming out, and it's going over to House Cawdor. And turn 1 opens up. We've got a lot of movement that's going to take place. First, Zachariah is going to use both actions to move. Nobody is in line of sight at this point, so no shots can be taken. Over for Van Saar, Scion is going to use both actions to move. He is on the bridge. Over for House Cawdor, we do have one of the Bone Pickers that is going to move forward pretty quick on this guy. He has a movement of 6, so able to move 12 inches. We've then got the Prime, Von Marks. He is going to move down to the bottom, trying to get a little closer with his plasma pistol. As we see the Firebrand making a move here, Van Saar is in a defensive position where they are overlooking the battlefield. A lot of those loot caskets have been set up on elevation. We've got the Tech Cypher making 2 moves here to the bridge. Over for House Cawdor, Isaiah is going to move into the middle, into this market area. And still, with all these moves, nobody in line of sight, so all of Van Saar's activations have been used for movement. Helix is going to activate. He's going to go to the very top here, climbing the ladder. With Van Saar now out of activation, Simon moves to the top, and he's going to use an action to try to smash this casket. And it's a d6 roll plus his strength that is successful, but he needs to get a 4-up now to see if he can find some tech in this box, and it's unsuccessful. So this is the basic mechanic of this scenario, trying to find 3 techs in these stashes or make Van Saar flee the battlefield. Next up we've got the priest Gabriel, who is going to use both moves to get in position behind some cover. And right behind him we'll have Lazarus using his actions to move as well. He's got a grenade launcher, so he would be able to fire that. And he is going to, targeting Helix across the battlefield, firing a frag grenade at the terrain that he is on. He is firing through heavy cover. The shot misses, and we roll out a d6 and a scatter, and it drops into no man's land, barely missing Von Marx at the bottom. Next up we have Ezekiel that is going to use both actions to move, actually able to get pretty well out of line of sight behind this column, and that brings the first turn to a close. We're going to roll out some Faith Dice for House Cawdor. No checks need to be made or anything like that. House Cawdor is Path of the Faithful, and we actually forgot to roll an extra d6 for every champion and leader on the board. That's something that we just have to remember over time. As we look forward to turn 2, priority rolls come out. House Cawdor will take it. Simon is going to activate, and he is going to try to get out of line of sight again using both actions to move, and he is jumping through the window here inside of this building. Van Saar decides to activate the champion Helix, and he is going to fire at the Deacon. He can see him poking out a little bit here behind this terrain. It will be full cover. He normally hits on a 2. That full cover will take this to a 4. While he misses the first on a 2, Fast Shot allows him to fire again, and he hits on a 6 rapid fire, but fails to wound. The Deacon goes down pinned. A 4+ Rad Phase roll is unsuccessful, and now we move back to House Cawdor, one of the Bone Pickers, moving 12 inches, now starting to close the gap in the midfield. Next we've got Cypher, who's going to use an action to move forward. Got a nice little picture of my buddy here, as he is trying to get line of sight down at the Firebrand Jedediah. That is not going to be successful, however. As such, he'll use his second action to move, getting closer to the edge of the building here. House Cawdor activates Zachariah with his blunderbuss, and he is going to continue moving around the edge of the board. And we've then got Scion, who is going to activate next for House Van Saar. He's going to use both actions to move. The Firebrand is going to use both actions to move, staying out of line of sight. That is House Cawdor's MO right now, as they do not want to get into a ranged entanglement with House Van Saar. The Prime Von Marx is going to try to move up here, trying to force the action a little bit with his plasma pistol. He moves into the building into cover through the window. Over on the other side, Lazarus is going to use both actions to move, and he moves to where Von Marx is hiding in the building. We've then got Isaiah. He is going to move up behind that building as well. The priest Gabriel is going to get to his feet and use his second action to move along with them. Ezekiel is going to hop the counter here with his first action, scope things out, and then use his second action to move towards the bottom of the stairs. That wraps up turn 2, and once again House Cawdor doing a fine job staying out of line of sight. They've only allowed House Van Saar to get a single plasma shot off, did not cause any damage. They are creeping up the board. They were unsuccessful opening one of the loot caskets, but they're getting close to another one. We do have some Faith Dice that roll out here in the end phase, getting 3 more, taking them up to 7. Also, the end of turn 2 will signal House Van Saar's reinforcements. They will get both of them. The Archaeotech moves onto the board, as does one of the techs. The priority goes over to House Cawdor for the 3rd straight turn, and they will open up with a group activation here from the priest. Lazarus activates first, moves to the chem shop, and then uses his second activation to open the shutters. This is exposing Von Marx on the inside. Next we have Isaiah, who is going to move to the door that was already open, and he has an exterminator, and he is going to fire the flame template targeting Von Marx. This is a template weapon, so it auto-hits. Strength 3 against this Toughness 3 is forced to wound. There's no wound, but he will take a blaze roll needing a 4+. It is unsuccessful. Very lucky there for the Prime. While he does go down pinned, Gabriel is the 3rd part of this group activation, and he moves into base contact with a charge. The step gun and chain axe hit on 4s. He hits with 1 each, and ammo check is required on the stub gun, which is successful. The chain axe does need 3s to wound at strength 4, The stub gun needs 4s. It does not wound. There will be an armor save that's taken. He needs a 3-up, and he fails. Von Marx takes a single wound and then fights back unarmed. Von Marx swings looking for 4s, misses both. With that action concluded, we move over to Van Saar. Oculus moved on from reserve, firing a rad beamer, has Ezekiel in the open, and he hits on 2s. Shot is successful in focus mode. A 4-up ammo check is required due to the tactics card we brought. That's failed, but he has munitioneer, so getting a reroll still fails. The gun jams up. A 4-up wound roll is good. A 4-up rad phase roll is not. We flip back to House Cawdor, where the Firebrand Jedediah is going to move, trying to stay concealed. And then we've got Helix, the champion for Van Saar. He has to move up slightly to get this shot. He'll be targeting Isaiah with his plasma gun. Has him in the open, so just needs 2s to hit. The shot will be successful. A 4-up ammo check is required again, and that's failed, so his gun jams up. Isaiah goes down, pinned, 3s to wound. There's no wound. We've got more movement from House Cawdor as they continue to wrap around the backside of these buildings, maybe looking to climb up in future turns. House Van Saar activates Fusion, and he's going to be targeting Lazarus here. Got him short range in the open. This is going to be just 2s to hit with his last gun. They do play power up here to double the strength of this weapon, so hitting on 2s, and that's successful. This is strength 6, so 2s are needed to wound. That is successful as well. The armor save is going to be failed, so an injury die will be rolled out here, and he is going down with a serious injury. We'll see some cool checks coming around. The Priest Gabriel rolls up double 1s, but he does get to re-roll this because he's fanatical, and he turns it into double 6s, so he's good. We've also got a roll coming for Isaiah, and he's good as well. After causing that mayhem, Fusion is then going to use his second action to move into cover. Flipping back to House Cawdor, we've got Zachariah, who is going to use both of his actions to move. Van Saar is then going to activate Scion. He is going to move to the edge of the walkway here. This is going to bring the Bone Picker Tobiah into line of sight. It's an easy hit with his last gun on a 2-up. Successful ammo check. He then rolls to wound, needing a 4. That's good. Tobiah's not wearing any armor, so we go straight to an injury die here, and it's an out of action. That's a big die roll for Van Saar, and the lasting injuries table is going to be a 24, which is out cold. House Cawdor is going to continue to apply the pressure, however, as Ezekiel is going to use both of his actions to move. This will get a reaction from Cypher, who is up top. Van Saar in some very advantageous positions right here. He is going to fire down at Ezekiel, who just moved. Short range with the last gun, hits on 2s, he's all good. It's going to wound on 4, strength 3, toughness 3, that's good as well. It is mesh armor, so a 5-up save is also good, so he just goes down pinned. And while all this is going on, Simon, the sneaky bone picker, is moving up to smash a casket, rolls up on the d6, it's good, he gets a 4-up and finds something of value here. House Cawdor will score a point. The last activation for House Van Saar goes to the Prime, and he is going to fight with his plasma pistol and shield. 2 attacks from the shield, 1 from the plasma pistol into the Priest Gabriel. He hits with the energy shield, knocks Gabriel back. He does not cause a wound, however. He then tries to take a shot with his plasma pistol, ends up rolling a 1, and that brings the third turn to a close. So we do have a fighter seriously injured for House Cawdor. They also experienced an out of action there. A bottle test will be required, and that's going to be successful. Rolling recovery for Lazarus, trying to pick himself back up. That's not going to be possible. He's going to stay down with a serious injury. Faith dice go to the max, and House Cawdor again wins priority. Gabriel immediately activates, uses 2 faith dice for, and the word fell upon them and they were broken by it. It fails. Gabriel is forced to take a cool check, which is successful. He then charges into the Prime Von Marx. He's got 4 attacks on 4s, the stub gun successful, a few from the chain axe as well. The stub gun does not wound. The chain axe has 1 success with rending, but the armor save is going to be made with that shield. Reaction attacks come back across, needing 4s. The shield is going to hit. That will knock the priest back, taking him out of combat. A 4-up wound roll is successful, and a 5-up mesh armor save is failed, so he takes a wound. Von Marx then activates. He is going to move over, give the coup de grace, the coup de grace to Lazarus, who is on the ground. The D66 roll is a 33, which is Grievous, and another House Cawdor fighter out of action. Back to House Cawdor, Ezekiel activates, cast 2 Faith dice to attempt to break fighters within 9 inches in line of sight. While Scion passes his cool check, Cypher does not and becomes broken. With Lazarus moving into cover, we then flip back to House Van Saar. Scion is going to react. He moves into a firing position. He's actually going to fire down at Isaiah. Needs a 2 up here. That shot is going to miss. As we move back to House Cawdor, we've got the Firebrand, who is going to continue to move. House Cawdor just trying to force more actions out of Van Saar while they don't have fighters in line of sight. After scoping out his position, he is going to move into the building here and ready his crossbow for the next turn. Oculus is going to activate next. Needs a 4-up with the Tactics card to reload his Radbeamer. That is successful. He is now going to fire it into the face of the Firebrand. Bit of a risky move here from House Cawdor. Didn't pay off for him. He hits on the 2. He is going to wound on a 4. The Firebrand will take a wound and suffer a flesh wound from Radphage on that 4-up. Moving back to House Cawdor, Isaiah is going to get to his feet, and he is point blank range with the Prime of Von Marx. He's got an auto gun, going to fire it right into his back. He is going to hit. He will need to take an ammo check, and that is good. This is a forced wound, and there's no wound. He just goes down pinned. Next for Van Saar, we've got Fusion. He is eyeing down Gabriel. Just needs 2s to hit. Short range with a las gun. Shot fails. He rolls a 1. House Cawdor gets the activation back, and we've got Zachariah, who's going to use both of his moves, getting close to the building here, maybe looking to open this door on the next turn and get into this building. The Augmech Helix tries to reload his plasma gun, but plasma is scarce, so don't do this. This is a reload that was illegal. Meanwhile, Simon is using both actions to move, getting on top of the building here. He'll be within loot casket range on the next turn. Cypher unable to do anything because he's broken. The turn is over. Bottle check for House Cawdor is good. A recovery test from Cypher is going to be good. And House Van Saar doing a good job taking out House Cawdor where they can. Faith dice are rolling out, and 1 more of those will be added back. Priority rolls coming up for the next turn. House Cawdor takes it again. And after a lot of debate on which fighter should activate first, House Cawdor is going to go for the points rather than trying to take out the Prime. They're going to activate Simon up top. He attempts to smash the casket, and he can't do it. This is going to allow Von Marx to get to his feet, fire the plasma pistol into Gabriel. He dials it up to max, and while he does land a hit, the wound roll fails at strength 7. Isaiah then activates, turns to face Helix, and tries to fire up with his autogun. He misses, however, and then he uses his second action to move into cover. Up next we have Fusion that activates. He moves forward with an action, and then it targets Ezekiel, and he is going to land a hit with his last gun, short range. The shot will not wound, however, and Ezekiel just goes down pinned. Up next, we've got Zachariah, who uses an action to open the door and his second to move into the building. House Cawdor getting closer and closer to some of these loot caskets. Helix is going to move and take a shot at the Priest Gabriel down on the ground. He just needs 2s to hit, and that's successful. Rapid fire 2. 3s are required to wound, and it will be 2 wounds. AP1 takes him to a 6-up save. 1 is made, 1 is failed. Injury die will come out here for Gabriel. He takes a flesh wound and a serious injury, but Rise Anew being played by House Cawdor, and he rolls back over. In addition to becoming active, he will regain a wound. Up next for Van Saar, we have Scion, who is going to use an action to move, and he will fire his last gun down at Ezekiel. That shot is going to miss. Next up, the Firebrand activates, realizes he's in trouble, and he is going to use both of his actions to move. Oculus moves forward to target Isaiah with his Radbeamer, needs 2s, and that fails. Ezekiel will then stand and use his action to get to the bottom of the ladder. The next activation belongs to Cypher, and he is going to move forward, and he's going to target the Bone Picker Simon across the way. Short range is offset by cover, so needs 3s. As that shot misses, our turn comes to a close. House Cawdor rolls up a 6 on their bottle check. They're still not in a position to where they can fail. Faith dice will go back to the maximum. We gear up for another turn with priority rolls coming out, and House Cawdor once again rolling up for the initiative. Ezekiel activates first for House Cawdor, and he attempts to invoke, and the word fell upon them, and they were broken by it. He throws 3 faith dice at this. It is successful, and we've got a lot of cool checks that need to be taken. Fusion fails, needing a 7 or better, becomes broken, and makes a 2d6 run. Up top, we do have Helix, who needs a 6 up. He fails, makes a 2d6 run, becomes broken. Ezekiel then charges through the window into the prime Von Marks. And he is electing to get into base-to-base inside of this building, just so he can kind of get into some cover, limit himself from any shots that may come down. He launches 3 attacks, needing 4s. And he gets 1 hit and 1 wound, and the save at AP2 is going to be made with a body glove mesh armor. The Prime then turns to face. This will put him at a -1 to hit, so it will be 5s. All of his reaction attacks will miss. Oculus activates next. He is going to move into the building and target the Firebrand Jedediah. He's going to fire with his Rad Beamer, pretty much point blank range, just needs 2s. He is going to land a hit, firing in dispersed mode this time, so it is a rapid fire, and he will need 4s, strength 2. Both of those are going to wound. AP2 goes straight to injury dice, and he is going down with a serious injury. He gets a flesh wound. We do roll up for Radphage on a 4+, and that is unsuccessful. Next up, we have the Tech Specialist Scion. He's going to aim and fire down into combat, into the back of Ezekiel, who is tied up with Von Marks. Full cover in combat makes this a 6, but the aim and short range make it a 4. He does strike him in the back. Ammo check is good. Just will need your standard 4s to wound, and that is successful. 5-up mesh armor save will be taken. And that is failed, so Ezekiel takes a wound. Injury die rolls out. He goes down with a serious injury. Up next, Isaiah is going to activate. He is going to aim and fire his autogun into Von Marks. And that shot is going to hit. 4s are required to wound, and there's no wound, but he does go down pinned. It's all too little too late, as Von Marks is going to stand and give the coup de grace to Ezekiel, taking him out of the game. D66 rolled up is 42, which is grievous. And on this one, we missed the roll, but House Cawdor was able to score a point on this casket, and then the second action from Simon was to move. Across the way, Cypher is going to move onto the gantry and attempt to fire. That shot is going to miss, however. With the gantries clear of fire, Zachariah uses both actions to move, getting close to one of the caches. The Priest Gabriel is going to get to his feet, and he is going to fire the Exterminator at Von Marks. The wound roll is successful on that 4. He does go down pinned. He's going to fail an armor save here, rolling up a 1. And this is a single shot Blaze template weapon. We're going to roll up a 4-up for Blaze. That is unsuccessful, but he is reduced to 0 wounds. An injury die is rolled out, and he goes down with a serious injury. The turn concludes, and this is just going completely out and back. House Cawdor are now at 2 victory points. They only need to find 1 more cache in order to win this game. We'll see bottle checks coming out for both sides. House Cawdor will fail. Van Saar rolling out as well, and they are going to fail. Both gangs are going to bottle going into the final turns. The Firebrand bleeds out, rolls up a 15, which is out cold. Von Marks will stay down with a serious injury. We do have rally tests that need to be taken. Helix up top is not going to rally, and Fusion at the bottom, she is not going to rally either. We've got priority rolls coming out for the next turn, and it takes a tie for Van Saar to finally claim the initiative. Fighters have to take cool checks. Helix up top fails, and he will scoot off the board. At the bottom, Fusion elects to stay in the fight. Von Marks is staying in the fight. Scion takes a cool check, and he is good. Cypher fails, and he flees off the battlefield. For House Cawdor, the priest Gabriel is going to elect to stay in the fight. The bone picker Simon, who scored 2 points in this one, he elects to flee the battlefield. The other that wasn't in range of Gabriel is Zachariah. He is good as well. And House Van Saar has the first activation. Augmech comes out of the building, and he is going to fire the Rad Beamer. He needs anything but, and he rolls a butt. The shot misses. The priest Gabriel then activates, and he moves into contact with Von Marks, giving him the coup de grace. The D66 roll is critical, so there'll be some work to be done at the end of this game for House Van Saar. Next up, we've got Scion. He's going to use an action to move, and he's going to attempt to fire down at Azaya, trying to prevent him from acting fully this turn. Short range offsets some partial cover. The shot hits, ammo check is required and failed. His gun jams up. And while there will be a wound, the armor save is good. Now we move over to Zachariah. He is going to use both of his actions to move, getting ready to tap that loot casket, potentially win the game on the next turn. With the last activation, Azaya gets back up, attempts to fire back up at Scion, but the shot will miss. And that is another turn in the books, and you can really feel the momentum swinging in this one out and back. Fusion is going to rally on a 7+ to get back into this game. A tie on the priority roll sends it back over to House Cawdor. And we get a bit ahead of ourselves here as we got excited as things were just really getting good. We are going to take cool checks here in just a minute. Azaya is going to fire into Scion and is going to land a hit. Rapid fire 3. So 3 dice come out needing 4s. It will do 1 wound. He is going to save it with his armor, however. An initiative check is taken and it will be failed, and he plummets to the bottom, takes a strength 5 hit. That's a 3 to wound. It's no good. Now we remember our cool checks, because that could have potentially not happened. Gabriel's going to be good. Spread that around. But in a crucial fail right here, Zachariah has fled the battlefield at the objective. Oculus is good on their cool, Fusion fails and will flee the battlefield, and then Scion, he is going to be good, so everything in that sequence that you saw previously did happen as it should. And Van Saar commands the next activation, and looks like Scion gets to his feet, attempts to reload the las gun. That is successful. Gabriel is going to launch a charge into him, however, and wielding that chain axe and a stub gun will be 4 attacks. He gets a hit from the chain axe and the stub gun. Stub gun needs a 4, that's unsuccessful. The chain axe needs a 3, and that is successful. He takes a save, needing a 6 with that armored body glove, and it fails. So an injury die rolled out here. He goes down with a serious injury and gets the coup de grace from the priest Gabriel. As Oculus moves forward, a D66 rolls out. It's a 55, which is a spinal injury. Oculus takes a shot at Gabriel, and he will land a hit, and ammo checks required, needing a 4 due to the tactics card that we played. That's unsuccessful, so while he does hit, he is out of ammo. He fails to wound. 4-up rad phase is not successful, and with all of that, we have reached the end phase. Both sides have sustained heavy casualties in this one. House Cawdor has 2 fighters left, while House Van Saar just has Oculus, which is their Archaeotech. And after debating for quite some time, House Van Saar has elected to flee the battlefield in this game. Oculus is out of ammo, so he would need to successfully roll up an ammo check in order to even take a shot at these guys. Plus, they still have a lot of faith dice in the bank. He could easily become broken and potentially be lost for the next game, which Van Saar obviously does not want, as they do have their leader in critical condition. It's really going to hinge on initiative rolls and then potentially a reload, and that's just not something that House Van Saar is wanting to chance for this victory today. So this has been an incredible battle, and we've got the post-game report coming up next. Alright, welcome to the post-game. This game took a long time to play, film, edit, and get ready for the channel. I really hope you enjoyed it. There were a few mistakes in there, you know, with the reload on the plasma gun. He only got 1 shot off, and I think it just caused a pen if I'm not mistaken, so not a whole lot of a swing in the game from that. Fighters fleeing the battlefield was just crazy there towards the end. When House Cawdor had a chance to snatch victory, their guy ran off the board. That was just a really exciting game to play, and then to watch it back through as I'm doing the edits. It was just a lot of fun to watch, so I really hope you enjoyed it as well. I do feel pretty bad for Van Saar, as they were in a real good, advantageous position, and it just didn't work out for him this time. The news out of the Van Saar camp does not get any better, as Oculus did escort Von Marx to the dock. The fee to save him was 90 credits, and they did not have that. We rolled it out as if they did by accident, and he rolled up a 1 still and died from complications, so it's really just meant to be that he is not going to be with the gang moving forward. It's going to be a big blow to Van Saar. Overall, I thought the scenario was a lot of fun, so this would be one that you might want to consider trying out. We will distribute the winnings. House Cawdor will take 50 credits and a reputation, and Van Saar will collect 25 credits and have to find a way to recover from such a devastating initial loss. The man of the match today is the priest Gabriel, who stayed in combat with Von Marx, eventually took him out with a coup de grace, and then continued to move forward, taking out another fighter as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. Another big thank you to the Supporters Club for this year. Your names are on the screen now, as well as on a piece of our terrain somewhere. I really appreciate your support. It's by no means necessary. If you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Take care.